Welcome, everybody, back to another session of Unfiltered Waters. And I feel like the way this episode came about was one thing after another kept happening in the swimming world, in NCAAs and USA Swimming. And we realized, one, we weren't as educated as we should have been around NCAA and NIL. And we then thought, well, maybe our audience isn't as educated. And so we wanted to provide really, this episode is the state of swimming as it stands right now. We're going to start NCAA, talk all things NIL, talk about roster spots, rev share, and then if we have time, move on to USA Swimming, National Team Director, the addition of 50s. But we're thinking this is going to be a part 1, part 2.
But we'll see.
Sleep is the foundation of our health. But as we all know, sometimes life gets in the way. It's hard to fall asleep or stay asleep, or you just wake up not feeling your best, super groggy and tired. Dream Recovery's mission from the very start has been to provide products that help do just that. Wake up ready to fight and conquer the day. They've designed high-quality mouth tape as well as dream strips. They've got their blue light blocking glasses, sleep masks, all products designed to help you sleep your very best. I want to talk about the Dream Strips today. So they've got, of course, their mouth tape. They've got their Dream Tape Plus. But I know so many people I hear are so nervous when they hear the word mouth tape, taping your mouth at night. The Dream Strips are an amazing gateway to get you used to having something on your mouth. It's just a singular vertical strip over your lips. It's not scary, and I can say from my personal experience, I was really scared to try it. And now, for the last year, I cannot go without it. I fall asleep faster, my nervous system relaxes because I'm breathing through my nose, as we all should, and I wake up feeling awesome, no matter what. So, we've got a special code for you guys. It's Unfiltered30, which gives you 30% off of all the Dream products. So, try it out and have the best night's sleep ever. I will say this is going to be an official disclaimer from Beisel and I. We are doing our best. We have done a lot of research, but we may get it wrong. And if you correct us in the comments, we appreciate that, but please do it with kindness.
Yeah, we are not lawyers, but we have done, I feel like the past 24 to 48 hours, we have like
hammered.
Dedicated. I feel like I'm back in school and I'm giving a research report. Like, but kind of to your point, it is so imperative that we all in the swimming world understand what is happening, not just on an NCAA level, but as more of like a broader spectrum level, because what's happening right now in the NCAA will inevitably have a trickle-down effect down into the core system of USA Swimming, which is our grassroots level, club swimmer, summer league swimmer. So with that, I'll start, and we will be on our computers because we literally wrote like a research project, like just so we don't get it wrong, because we also, we gathered a lot of information over the last 2 days. We want to share that with people and we want to get it right.
I think that the goal is provide some of the facts, but then add our take on it completely as well. So yes, kick us off with some of the facts.
Okay. So basically what is happening right now is I think the NCAA is trying to, and you called it the Pandora's box earlier, lasso in the Pandora's box that they let loose. And from it's in the wild, wild west now. We're kind of like trying to pull it back in.
Pew, pew, pew.
Right. So, and this, it's exactly. Shots are being fired from all directions. We're trying to kind of like calm everything down. So House versus NCAA, Grant House, that is who we're referring to, Arizona State swimmer. And I'll be reading this. So House versus NCAA settlement is a landmark agreement that fundamentally will change college sports by allowing athletes to be directly compensated by their school. So me, Elizabeth Beisel, swimming for the University of Florida, will become almost a paid employee by the University of Florida. The straightforward breakdown is what we're going to try to give, but bear in mind that this is still ongoing.
Yeah.
U.S. District Court Judge Claudia Wilkin has not granted final approval of this settlement. So this is kind of what we've gathered, and we're going to try to break it down in the simplest of terms for all of you.
Yes.
So I'll start with kind of the first bracket that I have. And what is this settlement about? It's two things. The first thing that we won't really dive into, because it's not really anything to dive into that much, but the NCAA has agreed to pay $2.8 billion in back pay to athletes who were barred from earning money from their NIL, name, image, and likeness, dating back to 2016.
Yes.
So basically, if you competed in the NCAA from 2016 till
2020.
Yeah.
2023.
Yeah,
Right?
whenever
prior to NIL.
NIL came into play, there will be $2.8 billion distributed to those athletes.
Yes.
Amazing.
You dismissed it by how many years?
2 years. But it's like,
Yeah, I guess I want to hear from your perspective, missing it. How does that strike you?
I hate to say I don't care. Like, of course I would love the money. I'm not somebody that's motivated by money. You know this about me. But, I do think about how many athletes that I know that peaked during their collegiate career. Me, Allison Schmidt, like there's so many.
There's a long list.
Yeah, and you miss out on that medal money. Mm-hmm. And it's I wouldn't say it's life-changing money for me. I'm fortunate enough to say that, but for some people it may be.
100%.
So when I say that I don't care, it's not that. It's just that I am very lucky to be sitting in the seat that I'm in.
Yep.
And yeah, it's definitely a burn, but you and I were talking about it earlier. It will always be changing.
Always be. Yes. I'm glad you said that because I do have strong feelings around this. I think there's this just innate human emotion that comes up when the generation after you gets more. And so there's this, well, if I didn't get it, they shouldn't get it. And I don't think everyone feels like that, but I've heard so many people say things like that. And I feel the opposite. I feel like we're the parents of these athletes where we're like, we want it to be even better for the next generation. Yeah. We paved the way up till now. I'm psyched that these athletes had this opportunity to make millions of dollars, as they should.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we were talking about Rowdy Gaines earlier before we started recording. And, this guy was working night shift at a hotel while training for the Olympics. Yeah. Had no money. Thank goodness it's not like that anymore. Yeah. And like we've left it better than we found it.
Correct.
So that's kind of my mindset. Like, yeah, I would have loved the money, but at least we're on the right, well, what maybe is the right, who knows?
We'll see. Yeah.
Once we break it down. So the first one is the $2.8 billion in back pay. Mm-hmm. We've covered that. Now, this is the part where we'll dive into this. So revenue sharing. Starting as early as July 1st, 2025, this year, schools can distribute up to $20.5 million annually, which is about 20 to 22% of their athletic revenue. That $20.5 million goes directly to athletes. So that's where we are starting to pay our athletes to come to our university.
Yes. From the school, from NCAA specifically, not from donors, not from brands, just from the school.
Correct. It's completely separate from NIL.
Yes. Which is a key distinction because I was confused at first.
Yes. So this is you signed to go swim. We'll use University of Florida as an example because that's where I swam. You signed to swim at the University of Florida. You sign a contract that has X amount of dollars on it, and you have to adhere to that contract. And this is where it gets a little messy for Olympic sports. So this is going to end scholarship limits, and these scholarships will be replaced with roster limits.
Yes.
So normally the football team gets X amount of scholarships. Basketball team gets X amount of scholarships. Now instead, there are roster caps. And for swimming, that means less people on the team. There may be more scholarships now, but why does a university want to keep an Olympic sport program when all of the money, that $20.5 million, they're going to want to spend it on the teams that are making that $20.5 million back and then some.
I know. And we, right before we got on the mics, we talked about this of what is the difference, right? Because there's not a difference now compared to before other than the 20.5 million. Like swimming wasn't making money. Now it's not going to make money. Well, I mean, hopefully we have some ideas, but what's the difference? And I guess this is going to be an ongoing debate. I truly think there should be something in the school's contract or in the ruling with the NCAA that you have to keep X number of Olympic sports regardless. Because otherwise, what's to stop every single big school to just keep football, basketball? That's it.
Right. Like
if it's just money that we're saying is valuable.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And unfortunately, that's not even on the table. And then on top of that, Title IX. So having gender equity within the NCAA, and this settlement will then raise questions about Title IX, as a significant amount of these payments will be going to the men's football team, to the men's basketball team. Yeah. Those are the two big revenue driving sports within the NCAA. So like women's sports, and this is like, again, a broad topic, but how do we make it equal? You know, it's tough. So this affects Olympic sports, obviously, a lot. And I think one of the things, you know, being at NCAA's that was such a value was when I'm on deck and when you're on deck, we have opportunities to chat with coaches. And there was one coach on deck that I was having a conversation with, and he had a conversation with his athletic department probably 2 months prior to the NCAA championships. And the athletic director was sitting across from this coach, and the athletic director looked at him blank in the face and said, "What is your value on campus here? Why should I keep your team? What value do you bring to this university?" Mm-hmm. And it's such a direct question. Yeah. It's such a hard question to answer because there's obviously so many layers, but we need to think about that.
Yes, it's a valid question.
It is.
Yeah.
What value do we bring to campus, to the university? Because if it's not money, which at the current state of swimming, we are not bringing in revenue. We cost schools a lot of money. You know, we were talking about it earlier. University of Florida has to race Stanford in a dual meet, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's say there's 25 people on the team. That's 25 flights to San Francisco. That's 25 hotel rooms if they're all getting their hotel room. 25 meals times 3 days. You know, it's like all of these things are costs incurring. So if it's not revenue, what is it? And does your respective athletic director agree with the value that you're bringing to the table?
Yeah. I mean, one question that came up in my head just now is it not a recruiting tactic or benefit to be able to say, hey, we'll just keep using University of Florida as the example. We sent 7 athletes to the Olympics. Does that matter at all?
I think it depends on the athletic director.
Right.
Do they care about Olympic sports? Or are they just like, nope, I'm here to bring as much money as I can into the university, and I'll do that however I can. Yeah. And if that means cutting track and field, swimming, gymnastics, wrestling, so be it.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes back to it's going to differ because the thing we didn't talk about yet is you have the ability to opt. You have to opt into the 20.5 million. Mm-hmm. So you could, as soon as you opt in, you have to be compliant with the NCAA, but you could not opt in, but then not get the money. And then you're cutting your legs from under you in that way.
Right, because why would an athlete want to go to a school that's not going to pay them? If all of the other schools are.
But then that begs the question, do you then tap into the NIL piece, the NIL deals that we can talk about next, and utilize that?
Yeah, that's true.
Because then I guess I feel like if you opt into that and you take the money, then that's taking away from, you have to then make up the 20 million, which puts more pressure on you to then think, okay, well, we need to cut the non-revenue driving sports.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, this is like, we're doing our best
We're
here.
a little like, guys, if you feel like there's a little bit of nervous energy, I was very nervous to dive into this because I don't want to do the NIL and the House versus NCAA wrong, but at the same time, that's why we should do it, because if we're having questions, other people are having questions.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying not to be nervous, but I'm nervous.
No, it's okay to like. I'm happy to admit the same feelings.
yes.
But this is why we're having this conversation, and it's really important that people listen and speak up and give feedback. And so I think, one thing that I do want to bring up is kind of back to my point a couple minutes ago. Why is it important to have an Olympic sport program at your NCAA university? Well, the fact that an athlete can train and simultaneously get an education is what sets the US system apart from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
That's why we have people from the world flocking to the United States to train at the best universities to get the best coaching.
Yes.
And getting some of the best education that's out there to offer. On top of that, if you are an American swimmer, the U.S. government does not fund the Olympic movement in any way.
Yeah, which is a whole nother.
And we don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That's just the fact.
Yeah.
It is one of the only pretty much full Olympic movement systems that does not receive federal funding.
Yes.
Therefore, neither does the USOPC. Therefore, if we are cutting Olympic sports from the NCAA, then that's when the trickle-down effect starts, because the chain is broken in terms of like, okay, so we start club swimming.
Yeah.
We're on our club, and then we have like to look forward to college. And by the way, this is only Division I that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Then you have the dream of swimming in college, but if that's not an option, why would you keep swimming?
Why would you? And I mean, if you talk to so many, when Todd and I go around to these swim teams and you talk to the 9 and 10-year-olds, it's either I want to swim in college or I want to go to the Olympics. Mm-hmm. And if the I want to swim in college goal is wiped out, why would they start to begin with?
And this is where the chain is broken, and this is where the huge problem lies.
Yeah.
That is where our sport starts to be in real danger. Because then people won't swim, and then people won't care, and they won't swim, and the Olympics will become less competitive, and the sport dies.
Yeah, which is terrifying to even think about. Like us doing this research, when you really break it down and spiral downward and start at the very beginning of where swimming starts, it breaks my heart.
Yeah, this is like, I hate to sound so dramatic, but this is not something any of us should be taking lightly.
Yeah.
And this is just the state of where we're at now. Like, do we then, let's say NCAA swimming is eradicated and there are no more swim teams within the NCAA. Do we then have like a club team? Or what you were saying, how football has a practice squad?
Yeah, I mean, the landscape, we'll have to pivot quickly. Mm-hmm. But I do think there could be a world where it just becomes the next, well, this is a perfect segue into talking about utilizing NIL deals and, helping people get paid. But maybe it becomes you swim in high school and then you turn professional.
Right.
The question is, and then the only issue there is you're on your own for college, right? You're on your own for getting an education. But if you're good enough and you're able to utilize social media and get NIL deals, then, that's technically what I did. Like my sponsor paid for my schooling. I turned professional and I continued swimming and I was a part of a club team. And maybe, right now when you go to nationals or world championship trials or Olympic trials, no one really cares about the team scoring, I would say, in that type of setting. But maybe that becomes more prominent. And there is, a Carmel Swim Club goes against Mission Viejo, and like it becomes a bigger deal. maybe that's what happens. But I do think I am a little relieved now to see the way that, now that I understand it, the way that the NIL deals will then be executed, assuming everything is approved.
And that's where it's tricky. So all of these NIL deals, anything over $600 will need to go through a clearinghouse, and that needs to be approved by said board of people. And that hasn't been publicly announced, but there are a few athletic directors from A&M, Clemson, Ohio State that are currently a part of it. But this is where it's interesting too, because then this clearinghouse is now determining what said athlete is worth.
But I don't, so at first I was so angry when I saw this, but I do agree. Who's to say who is allowed to determine your value? However, now how I understand it is it's more around, like right now, it's just boosters or someone saying, hey, Elizabeth, here's $1 million to come swim for us. Let's be clear. This is not in swimming. This is mainly in football and basketball.
I'd say, where is it? I'll be there. I'm on my way.
But that is literally what is happening. Give an 18-year-old $1 million and say, go here. And he says, how high? Where do I jump off the cliff?
Yeah.
Where's my money? And it's people find that upsetting. But if you put yourself in the 18-year-old shoes, that's life-changing money for anyone.
Yeah.
It sounds like now it's not going to be a pay-for-play structure. It's more, because giving someone $1 million just to go play somewhere is not paying for their name, image, likeness. It's basically just a bribe.
It's pay for play.
A legal bribe to have them come. But now it sounds like it'll be, okay, Coca-Cola is like, hey, you do 10 ads for us, an Instagram reel, and whatever, all these deliverables, and then we'll give you $500,000. It doesn't sound like, and we'll see, there's someone sitting there being like, actually, it should be $250,000.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Hope so.
I hope.
Yeah.
So that seems like that's a little bit of like what you were saying, like that's lassoing in the Pandora's box a little bit, because Todd was saying this, there could be someone playing before the national championship, whether it's in March Madness in basketball or football, and have someone contact them saying, hey, here's $5 million, leave your team right before the national championship. And that's legal right now.
And we'll give you $5 million.
Which is so messed up.
So that's where I think contracts will help these programs and help have more of a symbiotic culture. You know, I one thing that I've noticed is just the transfer portal is wild.
It's like a tornado.
Because of that, though. And like, can you blame the athletes for following the money? No. Like, you got to strike while the iron's hot. And if money is your main motivator and there's enough dangled in front of your face, you're going to bite.
Yeah.
And that is nothing to be shamed for.
No.
But I think that has created this wild, wild west that we are now trying to kind of like pull the reins in on. But it's, again, very dangerous times for swimming because we have, and again, this is all speculation. Nothing has really happened yet, but by just using common sense, you can kind of see where this is going. And if I am an athletic director, I'm going to make really tough decisions.
Yeah.
On the resources that I have, the $20.5 million that I have to spend on athletes. And I will probably want to spend that money on the athletes that will make me money.
Yeah.
It's sadly now a business decision.
It's a business, yeah.
It's not personal. And so it kind of goes back to the question is like, what does swimming and diving and gymnastics and track and field and wrestling and all these Olympic sports, what is the value that they are bringing to campus? How can we prove that they deserve to be on campus? And I love it's an amazing idea to have X amount of Olympic sport athletes or sports on campus.
Yeah, and then it's like, how do you then you're like, okay, well, which Olympic sports? It's just
There's
like
no right way to do it.
There's no right way to do it. It's the person deciding it is never going to be liked by everybody. So I would never want their job.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that's almost holding up the approval by the judge, we read this, is the fact that right now she wants there to be more of a grandfathered in surrounding the roster cuts, because imagine you're a freshman, you just committed, and suddenly you're finding out that you're cut without going into college knowing that that's a possibility. And so I really hope that that's the grandfathered in effect is happening and it doesn't get denied.
I agree. That seems fair. And in a world where maybe not much seems fair right now, I think, we're recording this on Sunday, April 13th. Hopefully we'll have an answer to that soon.
Monday.
Yeah, which is tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's, that seems right and fair. So originally it would go into effect this fall, 2025-2026 season. I think if the judge gets that verbiage correct and it gets a grandfathered in type effect, that will then start 2026-2027.
Yeah. If
I've read everything correctly and interpreted it right. So that's the skinny.
I would say just some positives too. Here's the thing. Everyone complained back when the athletes weren't getting paid. So changes needed to happen. I think it happened too fast. So then it was the wild, wild west, as we've said. The question is there a way to do it fairly?
So here's one thing that I don't know the answer to this, but this is just an open question. Like, you and I have not discussed this, but is there a world where you can have somebody like a booster funding your team? Like, if there's somebody I don't know if that's also...
Yeah, because that's technically, if the NIL deals through NCAA, I don't know what we're calling it, having to go through the clearinghouse gets passed, then technically the athlete is not allowed to receive the money directly. However, could it be that they're like, hey, instead of University of Florida, instead of 20.5, here's a donation to 20 million, and you guys can use that to fund your non-revenue driving sports.
Yeah, and would that come from a booster? Or, I'm wondering what that landscape looks like right now. Like, are now schools, and I'm obviously, neither of us are in the administration side of the school, so we don't know the answer
None
to
of
this
this
question.
is like secret information that we're putting out there.
Right. This is just an open conversation. Like, now that our wheels are turning and we're thinking, like, will there be a world where maybe swimming will be okay because boosters that are alumni of that school that have money and are established are like, I do not want to see my sport die. Here's $20.5 million. And this is restricted dollars towards your swim team. Is that
maybe
a possibility?
Think about the way that, the USA Swimming Foundation, right? There's donations, and that's how certain athletes are kept afloat to be able to train for the Olympic Games. So is there a way to do that in NCAAs where it's like, okay, you can be the official. Todd has been saying this forever. He's like, just get the person a ring, fly them on the plane, get them hyped, make them the team captain, bring them along the ride. But the problem is all this is happening now, and it takes time to get those structures in place. So once again, it feels like we're playing catch up to something that's going to go in place, and suddenly there's no money. And it's just going to be this scramble on every school's front to be like, okay, who are our top donors? How can they help us? Can we get them to donate?
Yeah.
It just sounds like it's going to be a crazy free-for-all.
Yeah. And I can see a lot of the big universities, like the University of Florida, we'll keep using as an example. We just won the national championship in basketball. A lot of money is going to go to them.
Yep.
Our football team is always top 25.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of money. Even sports like baseball, I don't know how much revenue they bring in, but it's definitely not as much as football and basketball. So like, what is that going to look like? are all of these sports that are kind of treading water, trying to keep their head above water, going to start massive fundraising campaigns? And I don't know.
I know. Well, then I started thinking about, okay, you look at all the classes that you go, like you pay your tuition, right? You get to the classes, you get the teachers to teach you. That's a value of going to school. You can pick the classes. Not everyone goes to business, whatever, 101. So could you look at sports, non-revenue driving sports, as similar? Like it's a credit that you take, and maybe the tuition is a little bit higher to, think about if you have 40,000 students and you added, I'm just doing terrible math, and you added another $5,000 of tuition. Mm-hmm. Does that cover it?
Not a bad idea.
I just solved it, guys.
I mean, my gosh. We're absolute geniuses.
But I guess, to me, if you're looking at, same thing with the way that you would look at an education, yeah, it's not driving, it's driving revenue because the students are paying for it, but their performance in the class isn't driving revenue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So why can't, I would say that having athletes students come and be athletes is a value add for them developing as a person. And how many CEOs and companies only hire athletes because they know the way they operate, the skill sets they have. So why can't you look at it the same way if they're not producing revenue?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Boom. I actually feel like there's probably so much more complication to it. But I think that needs to be the shift on how they view it. And I am not by any stretch saying, I think some people feel like, well, football and basketball should cover. But then if that means you're taking away revenue from those athletes, that's not fair either. They're performing. It's not their fault that their sport is
watched and celebrated.
Yeah. It's just the reality of America.
So to be honest, I think that's a perfect segue into how do we make swimming more fun to watch?
Yes.
How do we keep our sport that we know and love so dearly relevant?
Yes.
And I think this is another big conversation amongst the swimming community, especially heading into LA, a home Olympics. And obviously with this House versus NCAA settlement, it's like a real important time for all of us in the swimming world to take a long, hard look in the mirror and think, what do we need to change?
Yeah, a long, hard look in the mirror and reminding yourself that, what is the quote? Doing something over and over the same way and not, what is it?
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over every day and expecting different results.
Yes, I think that happens a lot. And I think it's just because we get in such a groove. And I feel like I've benefited. Maybe you have too, from having a husband who's not in the swimming world, where I think we sometimes get in this tunnel vision and culture of, well, this is how we've always done it. Why would we change it? And sometimes Todd will ask me questions and he's like, why is that the case? And I'm like, I don't know.
You're like, that's just how it is.
That's just how it is. And there's so many things that you can look at that can change to make it like other sports, to make it more, less complex to people who don't understand swimming. And I just think, I know it's hard to change things, but we have no other option at this point.
Yeah. If we, and I will preface this by saying, none of these changes make me feel good. Like if I'm about to list off what I'm about to list, know that I don't like this. I hate this. But unfortunately, we live in a society that wants instant gratification. The attention spans are next to nothing. Yeah. So rather, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't.
Yeah.
We were saying that yesterday. So it's like, all right, if this is the landscape that we are working in, we need to work with it. We need to use it to our advantage. So
it's ping pong. I want to hear yours. You hear mine.
We have very similar ones.
We have some different though.
Yeah. My first one is, and these are my notes after NCAAs, which happened just a few weeks ago. We only show A finals.
And this one, I know for both of us is so painful to say because B finals are so important for so many different reasons, but to be able to give those athletes the recognition they deserve. But it's confusing. People are like, is this the final? Did they just win? Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that.
Yeah. If you are going to try, and remember, we all know that you understand this. We are trying to capture the broader audience. Like, swimming fans are this much. They are like a
yes.
millimeter slice of the pie. We are trying to now get the whole pie in terms of viewership.
Yes.
Viewers that don't understand the sport of swimming will not understand B finals. No. You're right. It'll confuse them. And you know what people want? Back to back to back action. Yeah. They want to see the winner. They want to see the celebration. They want to see the national champion. I'm sorry. A finals only.
Yes.
If we want to be a punchy, exciting, electric broadcast, A finals.
A finals only. The one I had was, and this, I feel like you and I can say this without criticism because our events are the long distance races, the 400 IM, the mile, the 1,000, and I just think you can't start a session with a mile. You can't show the entirety of it because to people who don't appreciate our sport, even if you go 15-20 in the 1500 and you're Katie Ledecky, it just looks like you're going up and down the pool.
Yeah. And
knife to the heart.
No, trust me. I've had this conversation a lot with the ESPN broadcast team, the NBC broadcast team of this is a 400 IMer. Hello, saying this,
yes.
Like tried and true. But you lose people anything over a 200.
Yeah.
And that is proven. The numbers do not lie. Like, there are viewership numbers, and if it's a mile, the numbers go down.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's a 50, the numbers stay. So I don't know how we navigate that. We obviously still acknowledge the event happening.
Yeah, show the finish and the celebration.
Yeah, which I, again, hate. I hate that I'm a 400 IMer and my entire race is going to be recapped in a quick 12-second soundbite.
But you know what we don't hate? Having the sport of swimming generate revenue and get people excited. Yes. And so, yes, I put myself in the position if right now I was swimming the 400 IM and I look on TV and I break a world record and I don't even get the freaking 4 minutes and 31 seconds, yeah. I'm pissed, but I understand. Like, yeah. I mean, I didn't even like racing the 400.
Who does?
Who does?
But let's follow that up with saying, okay, maybe Katie, Elizabeth, we don't show your full 400 IM, but we show your celebration and we show you on the awards podium. Yeah. And we give you a post-race interview.
Yes.
We're still showing as much of you as we show of the 50 freestyler.
Yeah.
But we're just condensing your race, doing it a little highlight replay show, and you're still going to get your FaceTime and you're still going to get a chance to show your personality. It's just the race.
Which honestly, with swimming, like your goggles and capper, you're not from getting brand and, deals and all of that exposure. You're not really missing much.
Yeah. And to that point with like brand and exposure, I think the thing that is going to win over the audience and keep people engaged is your personality.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you cannot show your personality when you're swimming. You're swimming.
Oh, you can't?
Right? Like, that'll be my next bullet point is interview during the race.
How are you feeling right now on breaststroke? You're like, you'd have to bleep out the whole freaking thing for me. I'd be like, bah!
But to that point is like, that's a really important opportunity for you because here's the thing. People want something to relate to you. If like what sets you apart from any other swimmer, Katie? Like what makes you special? What makes your fans want to follow you? And I'm not like asking you.
I was like, you want me to come up with the answer right now?
No, but like what is your X factor other than obviously being an Olympic swimmer? But do you like, I don't know, sewing? Are you a musician? You know, like all of these things that kind of put you into a different box that people can relate to. We, as in broadcast, want to tell those stories. Have you been through adversity? Have you overcome an injury? Did you lose somebody to a disease and that's what you're passionate about? Like, these are the stories that pull on the heartstrings of the viewers.
Yes.
So the more, while you're an athlete, that you can kind of tell those stories in interviews, whether it's before the meet, kind of doing pre-media, or during a post-race interview, these are the things that pull people in and they'll remember you for that.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's maybe, we talked about this before, a shift in not only the way Gen Z puts out their social media, but almost the way that, I don't want to say there's just trepidation on their part of putting it out there, but kind of. Like, I feel like nowadays it's on TikTok for sure, but on Instagram, they're not posting as many videos or funny things or truly what, like, think about when you're doing research for an interview or maybe ESPN is looking, they're going to go, I mean, I do go on their Instagram and check it out. And I don't feel like people like to post as much on Instagram.
This is a you.
The look on your face the whole time I was talking, I was like, she is not agreeing with me. Or
No. I have to agree with you because I don't know.
Oh.
Are you saying they as in Gen Z, so like the upcoming generation of our sport, they prefer TikTok over Instagram, but maybe what you're saying is Instagram is more of a reliable go-to source.
especially for,
But I absolutely agree. I feel like TikTok has more of like this is like a cheeky little dance and it's an opportunity to, it is an opportunity to share personality, right? Like
it is,
in
but
a different way.
In a different way, like it's like voiceover. I don't know. I just feel like I feel like it's hard to, and that's why we started this podcast, is that sometimes it's hard for Gen Z to want to show their personality on Instagram. It's almost deemed, like what we talked about with Alex Shackle, it's almost deemed not cool. And it's just that, like, they're on Snapchat or they're posting crazy stuff on TikTok, but it just feels like it's harder to pinpoint unless you truly have interviewed or talked to them from afar of like, what's their thing? What's their unique niche? Like, what is it? And I just feel like if you look back to Ryan Lochte with his grills and his shoes, and, there was so many people that, Amanda Beard was like fashion, like there, you can go through and see different athletes where it was super out there in the way that they operated. And I'm not saying that not every athlete doesn't have that, but it just feels like it's less and less. There's a couple people at the top that you're like, yes, that person, that's their thing. But it's not as widespread, I feel like, as it was pre-TikTok.
Yeah. So you know what? Here's our homework for every athlete, whether you're Olympic level or grassroots level. Have your shtick ready.
Yeah.
Like, have your X factor ready. Be proud of it. Love it. Own it. This is something that I wish I did when I was swimming. I wish I talked about violin way more.
Yeah.
I was like a closet violinist. Like, nobody
Why?
knew. Because I felt like I had to be a swimmer. And like, I was, and like violin now, sitting in the seat that I am, old and wise.
Yes, obviously.
Violin is, honestly, not just violin. Playing music is so cool.
Yeah.
What a gift. My generation growing up, being in orchestra, I was kind of like a nerd, like an orc dork, or like,
Is that what it's called?
yeah, sometimes.
That's so
At least,
cute.
yeah. But like, it was kind of like, oh, you're an orchestra. So I leaned into the swimming thing. So it was more so an insecurity of mine. And it took a lot for me to start like posting about my violin and opening up about playing violin.
Yeah.
And sadly, it was at the tail end of my career. Nobody cared. I wasn't winning medals anymore. So had I maybe leaned into that earlier, who knows what would have happened. I don't think it would have like helped in any way. Maybe though. And so my ask for all of these athletes is like, let's start telling your stories. You know, as somebody sitting next to somebody that's also in the media, you know, we want to give you a platform to make yourself showcase your versatility.
Shine your soul out there.
Totally.
Yes.
And that's what people love. Or and even if you don't have something that maybe makes you extra unique, maybe something about the way you train is extra unique.
Yeah.
Or
everyone has something.
The way your routine is. Like find something that sets you apart, because these are the stories that NBC and ESPN, we want to tell. Yeah. And then those are the stories that people are going to cling on to and be like, oh yeah, like Elizabeth Beisel, she was that. She's the swimmer girl that plays the violin. And then there's an instant connection.
Yes.
And that's going to kind of help gravitate people towards the sport. So I think, you know, at the end of the day, and rivalries too.
Rivalries, yeah. I mean, yeah, like back in the day it was Kate versus Katie, Kate Ziegler, and like it just, and I don't know if I really played into that, but like you said this, like that the polarizing thing is scary, but it helps people get invested and helps people care and tune in. And I don't know what the advice is on that of like leaning into being like to make sure you talk trash about your
right. But I think like, you know, an example, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
Yes.
You know, both like robust personalities, both incredible players. I think they are almost responsible for the huge uptick.
Yeah.
In and the momentum that women's college basketball has right now.
And they did not shy away from it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we, and it's, look at us sitting from our chairs asking all of these people to do this. But I think it's like an open conversation of, you know, the people swimming, doing the sport.
Yeah.
Are the ones that have the most power.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, we're asking them to not only perform, but
I know. But now I feel like an asshole.
No, not at all. I actually think if you can think about it like this, it almost does take the pressure off, because guess what? You don't necessarily have to win gold all the time and break world records. If people love you for you and learn that side of you, they're going to be rooting for you no matter what. Yeah. Brands are going to want to work with you no matter what. And so I think, at least for me, I felt like, I don't know what I thought back then, but I felt like I always had that feeling of like, if I don't hit X number of things, then the brands are going to hate me, right? When in actuality, no, that wasn't the case. Yeah. I was still working with Speedo. I was still, you know, and I felt like I think a piece of it is we're totally going off on a different tangent here, but I feel like getting rid of like once you put it out there and kind of fly your freak flag a little bit, like, I mean, I did hip hop dance moves on an NBC special one time because
I do remember this.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But like once you get that over with, it's like whatever, but then it's like a fun piece of you that you've shared that isn't just swimming.
Yes. I think the highest form of like self-love and just shining as yourself is authenticity.
Yeah.
And if you are authentically yourself, anybody will want to work with you. Anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
That will shine through. It doesn't matter if you're having an off season or not. Like that will get you further in life than anything else.
Yeah.
So I think more so what we're asking for is all of these athletes to not shy away from their authentic self.
Yes.
And what makes them different or special. Because you are the only version of you. No one else is going to do it better than you.
Yep.
So lean into who you are, what you like, what you enjoy. And I think that will inevitably kind of shine through whatever we're talking about, broadcast, social media, brands wanting to working with you. Yeah. And people wanting to watch.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the next? The one you should say this one because it was your idea and I think it's brilliant. Talking about timing of if NCAA is still around, talking about the timing.
Yeah, I think and we can riff off of this. I mean, I don't want to take credit for this. It was probably a conversation that I was in at NCAA's.
I thought it was a great idea.
I think, honestly, I have to give Peter Lasser credit for this because he was the one that was like kind of striking this conversation. But when we are talking about viewership and NCAA swimming, we as in swimming, fight ESPN broadcast or airtime with college basketball.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We are never winning that fight.
No, it's just reality.
Maybe one day, but today is not that day.
No.
So why are we putting up a sport that is already struggling with viewership against a Goliath like NCAA men's college March Madness? That's silly. So the idea is bump the NCAA championships back to February. So it's after the college national championship for football. It's after the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Kind of in a lull period for sports, maybe end of February. Eliminate the invite. Just do a few dual meets in September, October, November. Have conference instead of being in the month of February or early March. Move that conference meet to December between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yep.
Then it shortens the season by a month. You're not rushing into long course season. And I think, I think that just helps, like a little bit more punchy of a season. Maybe have the dual meets be maybe something where there's like knockout rounds and, you have the final heat is just two people, from one school, one from the other school. But I think that's something, and I think a lot of the coaches are on board for that.
I mean, it's just, I feel like the thing that's encouraging about all of this is it's minor tweaks. It's not reinventing the whole meet, or it's like just moving it up a little bit. Not showing B finals, cutting down the longer races. Like, it's not like we're saying, I don't know, swim in outer space. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think
it's like reasonable.
I think it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Like, the other one I had of, football, basketball, they all have a halftime show. Put something in there that's exciting for fans.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we think about the fans. And when I say fans, I don't just mean the parents of the athletes. They're in regardless.
Yes.
So making something where someone walking by, and I feel like, not Omaha, I feel like Indy really tried to do this with trials, with the light show and everything, but it can't be every 4 years.
Right.
So how can do we bring in, I don't know, a performer for halftime? Is that too expensive? I don't know.
Again, that's a great question. Like budget or I mean, I know this is, but alcohol you mentioned.
Alcohol? Yeah. NCAA, I would have loved to have a nice little glass of wine in the stands.
Yeah. And that might, pull in. And again, we're talking not people that are directly in the sport.
Yes.
We're talking about people that are 1 to 2 to 3 degrees separated from the sport.
Yes.
How do we pull them in? It has to be an experience. It has to be a show. And you're so right. It can't be once every 4 years. Otherwise, this sport remains the same.
Yeah.
Or dies. So how do we gather momentum, especially heading into LA 2028 with meets like a conference championship, an NCAA championship meet, even the pro swims, national championships or world championship trials, all of these meets are opportunities for us to have a trial and error period and see what works, see what doesn't, what's the budget allow for.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're making baby steps, even having the screen like it was where athletes come out and there's fog. That's super small, but it adds to the experience. The DJ playing music, that was great, but it's just not enough of a massive leap that we need to make, unfortunately. And all of these things seem still not enough when I'm saying them. I guess if I'm being honest, I'm like, we're talking about a lot of money that we need, or a massive increase in watching and crowd, and it's like, how do we create trials and not spend millions of dollars putting in a football stadium?
I know,
you know,
way over our budget.
Of course that hit. Of course, there were 22,000 people in the stands, but I feel like when people see swimming and they go to trials, Pat McAfee was in the stands and thought it was sick. Mm-hmm. So it's not like we're being delusional to think, oh, swimming's just awesome and we're the only ones who think it. It's just modeling trials and the Olympics, but in a cheaper way.
Right. It's like, how do we scale it in an affordable way?
Mm-hmm.
But, it's like, of course people want to go to trials because they want to see people make the Olympic team. So maybe are we not doing a good enough job of celebrating winning NCAAs or winning nationals? Like, how do we...
Yeah.
Because you don't see anybody in the stands at any of these meets other than alumni, parents, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the question is, okay, if you're, because I heard this happen at trials, people just walked in and got a ticket, like off the street, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
And so the question is, how do you get Joe Schmo walking down the street at Federal Way going, oh, there's a swim meet? Let me pop in.
Yeah.
What would entice Joe Schmo to do that? Is it free alcohol? Is it, I mean, like bribing them with like putting breadcrumbs?
I know, like
come on in.
We'll pay you.
We'll pay you to come watch. But
what's the hook? What is the hook?
Because there is a hook for everybody. Like, what caused Todd and I walking down Broadway to hear that there's a Russell Dickerson concert and be like, oh, we're just going to grab a ticket, right? Yes, because we think that's an enjoyable experience. Sitting in a chlorinated pool that's hot as all get out and watching a sport that you probably don't understand at all is not going to get Joe Schmo off the street.
Yeah.
So can we hook them with entertainment, alcohol, the hype of, I don't know.
It's so bad. It's like, how do we trick people into...
But then they get addicted. That's,
No, I hear you are completely correct.
I know. Again, we hate this.
Yeah,
it's just the reality. I think living in a world where swimming's so awesome to people that know all the time. I mean, I told you on Broadway when I walked down the street and Missy and I had to do this little reel for a Little Words Project, and almost 50% of people, when I asked them what they were excited about at the Olympics, said they don't watch the Olympics.
Yeah.
So that, again, is just the reality. So let's figure out what the hook is for Joe Schmo, and let's do that.
This is everybody's homework, by the way. If you are
we don't have the answers.
This, right, we don't have the answers, but you have now subscribed to...
Hopefully.
This, yes.
Subscribe.
Hopefully. And our sport relies on you.
You hit that subscribe button, you save the sport of swimming.
Honestly, you're helping it. Like,
yeah,
that's the thing. Like, a rising tide lifts all boats. And so if Unfiltered Waters is doing great, amazing for the sport. If another podcast is doing great, amazing for the sport. Like, we are past the point of being competitors. All of us need to do our part.
Yeah.
Into helping this sport, and we all need to work together. And I think swimming is a good place to be because there aren't many egos in this sport. I think we can all agree, like, we all want this sport to stay around.
Yes.
And stay around healthily and heartily. And we can only do that if we're all working together. Yeah. And so, again, like, you and Missy creating this podcast is your contribution to helping the sport stay alive. I guess me sitting in this chair for Missy and me doing the interviews.
You guess.
I guess. Sure. I don't know. Like, I hope. But, it's like everybody can do something.
100%.
And if it's you at home and maybe you don't have enough money to fly to Olympic trials or NCAAs and buy a ticket, you can post about it on social media. You can have a little watch party with your friends. Like, the more viewers that there are on TV, the more likely we are to be shown and get maybe instead of an hour broadcast, a 2-hour broadcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like the little things and the trickle-down effects that end up adding up.
It all matters.
It truly all does. It's like a donation. You can give $1, you can give $1 million, but it all helps.
I just imagine it's not funny, but I just imagine the like SPCA, like
those puppies.
You can give $1, or you can that's us. We're like,
I can't watch those.
I know, but we're like, hey, save the sport of swimming. It's like the violin. We're like, you can donate $1, or you can.
How sad is it that like that is what we sound like right now?
It is like you can. Everything helps, folks.
You too can save with as little as 53 cents a month.
It's like 20 cents a day. That's it. 20 cents a day, and you save the sport of swimming.
Exactly. One post of swimming a day. We're not asking for much, people.
We're talking about like, here, come here. There's alcohol. Come here.
You'll have fun.
Oh yeah. But in all seriousness,
yeah.
Do we move on to 50s of stroke?
Yeah, because I do think that's a great segue into, the mile. I hate to say it, is not the most exciting race to watch. A 50 is, and as a 400 IMer and a distance swimmer, this pains me to say. But if we are talking about our sport growing in terms of viewership, I do not think adding 350s to the Olympic program hurts us.
Thank you. I think adding, and maybe I know there's a wide range of opinions on adding the 50s, or if you're not a swimmer, fly, back, and breast. Mm-hmm. I think it's incredible. I am very jealous.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous, but I think that the people that have issue with it aren't thinking on a larger scale. You know what I mean? Like, it's more inclusive. It's allowing longevity for those athletes that rock out the hundreds. I think 50s are so exciting for viewers. Everybody is looking up. I mean, there's a video of, an epic picture at NCAA's, and it's the entire warm down pool, and they're all looking at the scoreboard. And it's for Jordan Crook's 50 free, I believe.
Yeah.
And is there a picture like that for the 400 IM, even though it was incredible? Is there a picture like that for the 500
wow,
free?
Wow, you're so right.
It's just human nature to want, like, everyone's jacked up, and they're like, that to me, when I hear they're adding the 50s, is what you want for TV. It's what you want for people going. It's digestible. It's up and back, or just, sorry, not up and back. It's one length of the pool. Like, think about track and field, like the 100 meter, the 200 meter. People lose their minds for that.
Yeah, it's punchy. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's thrilling. I mean, it's a pure sprint showdown where it's decided by hundredths of a second. And I think people, they're drawn to things that are that tight of a like, who's going to win? Oh my God, nail biter. Like, who's it going to be?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's Caleb Russell.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that.
9-8.
Yeah.
9-8.
Yes. Like you hit the nail on the head with that point. And it's also, we were doing our research, as we said we were. The 50 free was only added, folks, in 1988.
Which is...
I had to Google that like multiple times.
We both do. I'm like, let me check it again. No.
Like the 50 free has only been around since 88. And, we obviously add the 1500, the 800 for women and men respectfully in 2020 or 2021.
Yep.
Open water didn't come onto the scene until 2008 in Beijing.
Yep.
So I'm jealous. I wish.
To sum up.
Listen, I hate the fact that I wasn't a 50 swimmer.
Yeah. Would you make a comeback right now? Like, say you were a 100 flyer. No, say you were a 100 flyer.
Okay.
And you could go for the 50 fly.
For home Olympics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I would have to consider it. I think that's going to happen for a lot of these athletes.
Yes.
Especially American athletes with that home Olympics in mind is, all right, I've been out of the game, but training for a 50, as we all know, is much different than training for a 400 IM or a mile. It's like you said,
fun.
It's fun. It's more digestible.
Yep.
It's certainly not easier. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
But it's less time, I would say, in the water. You know, you don't need to be putting in 6 hours in the pool a day.
Less wear and tear on your body.
Absolutely. So there are so many things that add up to this allowing those purebred sprinters to take another shot and see if they can make a home Olympics. And like, I mean, I have a list of people that I think would consider coming back.
Yeah.
That maybe aren't like officially retired, but somebody like Adam Peaty, Nicolas Santos from Brazil, Sarah Sjöström.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
she's going to pop that baby out and be back in it.
Yeah, we've seen it before.
Yeah.
Dara Torres, absolutely. Like, there are many examples of people.
Dana Vollmer did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, many examples of women and men taking a break and then coming back. So, yeah, I, as a 400 IMer, am really disappointed in
my body,
my genetics and my body. And, you know, it's very saddening that I don't get to reap the benefits of this. But I do believe that the benefits outweigh, the pros outweigh the cons with this decision.
1,000%. I mean, I do think there's this culture in swimming of what's a real event. And I think it gets said or implied all the time. I'm guilty of this. I'm totally guilty of, you know, doing, you know, okay, that person can only do a 50. But why? Why is there this culture of, you know, that doesn't happen in track? I mean, actually it's the opposite in track. Like the 100 and 200 athletes, think about the way that they're portrayed at the Olympics versus everybody else. They are the stars.
Yeah.
Like Noah Lyles, Gabby Thomas, like those
Carrie Richardson, yeah.
Like those are the ones that are elevated. And yet, and not to say that in like the 50 freestyler isn't, but there is this undertone, I feel like, in swimming of like more is better. Like there's just an undertone. As an Olympic athlete, I've always had to be extremely picky and selective about what I'm putting in my body. And now recommending these products and using them myself, I need all boxes checked. That's the highest quality ingredients, safe, tested, and effective products, and Momentous does just that. I have been taking their products for about 6 months now because of my husband, Todd, and I have to say I felt a huge difference. I also love that they have every single supplement that I need, so I don't have to switch around. I can just go to one trusted source. So my favorite products are the Momentous 3, the creatine, the omega-3s, and the protein, the whey protein, which is chocolate, is my favorite. So I'm building lean muscle mass with the whey protein. I'm increasing my brain function with the creatine. And then, of course, making sure that I'm reducing inflammation and helping with my muscle recovery with those omega-3s. So if you are looking to switch it up with a company who's doing differently, as well as putting you first, head to livemomentous.com/unfiltered for 35% off your first order. That's livemomentous.com/unfiltered for 35% off your first order. Can I add a hot take of
Always.
Another event I would like to add if we're running down this road? 100 meter IM.
I was going to say the 800 meter IM.
What's wrong with you?
I would be the world champion.
You already were the world champion.
Well, in the
First of all, let's aim higher. Don't say I would be the world champion. Say I would be the Olympic champion.
I would be champion of the world. No,
you think I think the breaststroke in there?
Oh yeah, I'm a fighter.
You know. Go.
No.
Like, I would never do that. No, I probably would have been forced to.
You would have been forced to.
Yeah.
I do think that an 800 IM for me would have been like my event.
100%. No, I all jokes aside, I think you would be the American record holder, the world record. I think you would murder it.
See, unfortunately, again.
What a bummer.
What a bummer.
What a bummer. Thank God. Thank God. But 100
But the 100 IM.
Okay, here's how it would play out. Don't worry.
Because, all right, you've thought this through. Folks, we're talking 50 meters. Katie Hoff is
Okay.
She's on one right now. Let's hear it.
No, I have said this not publicly, but in my head all the time because I just love the 100 IM. It's so amazing. So I think you would do it just like there's, 15-meter mark, right? You have to turn or you're DQ'd. It'd be the same thing. There would be a marker and you would have to strategize of like how you, fly to back. You would have to
You guys, she's serious.
You would have to really time out like your rotation because if you're, say like your fingertip goes past the marker, you obviously are DQ'd.
So is there a visual cue like the flags?
Yeah, I think it would be a tick on the bottom of the pool.
Okay.
That would let you would eyesight wise, and then also above, like on the lane lines, so that from an official perspective they could tell. But you would. I originally I was like, well, they could. I was gonna be like, they could wear this apparatus. That was like beep, and they had to turn. But I was like, that doesn't seem accurate.
No, you're not off. There could be a little laser in each lane.
Okay.
And because that's how they time track. There's like a little laser. So it's like once you pass through the laser, and I don't know if this is a thing, but you could have it give you
like a verbal, like
an audio cue.
Okay.
Like beep. And then maybe you have like a 2 to 3 yard grace period if you are not turned over onto your back by the next marker, the next audio cue, you're DQ'd.
Yeah. I actually like that better. Because it's hard. Yeah. So it's okay that would be, and then same thing coming back, breaststroke to freestyle. You really have to. So I just think it would be such a unique, if we're getting crazy. Now.
I mean, no, that is crazy, but also that's actually so fun to watch.
So fun to watch. Again, if we're rolling down the so fun to watch road, that's also Pandora's box. So you could get real crazy.
Yeah.
I think to the people that have critique around now how many medals you can win in swimming, right? That's a critique of the difference between track and field and swimming. I think at this point you could win, what would it be? Almost like if you swim every event, you have 20 opportunities, I think. Don't quote me on that exactly. But between the mixed relays, the relays, 4x1s, 4x2s, all the mixed, plus the 50, there's a lot of opportunities to win medals. Mm-hmm. However, I think people are underestimating how hard it is to get an Olympic medal and to be versatile enough to be swimming all of these different events, right? You're not going to be swimming the 800 free and then swimming the 50 fly. It's just not happening. And so I think the difference is running. You're not like running and then like hopping and then like cartwheeling and then there's one type of run. There's run type. Swimming, there's different strokes. And so to the people that say, well, that's not fair that swimming has so many opportunities to medal, to me, they just don't understand enough about the way that the strokes work.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like to be so good at one discipline, that in itself is a lifelong journey.
Yes.
It's not like we can let's just call a spade. What Michael Phelps did is absolutely bananas.
Yes.
But I cannot wrap my head around swimming one of his events at the level that he swam them at. And for him to do it 8 times and pre all of these mixed relays added, pre all of these 50s added, that is by far the greatest Olympic performance that I think we will ever see in the history of the Olympics.
Agreed.
And people don't appreciate that almost. I agree. Some people are like, oh, you got so many opportunities to win medals. And it's like, okay, you
try winning one. Oh, try making the team. Dear God.
Yeah. You try being not only the pole vaulter on your team, but then also the discus thrower and the javelin thrower, and then the 100-meter dash. And then you also swim the 10,000 steeple. And then it's again, insane. And I think there's also there's always that question of like, is somebody going to be able to kind of do what Michael did? I don't know. I don't ever want to say never, but I think what he's done is a once in a lifetime thing that I and you will see. Maybe not. I don't know. But
I don't know. I mean, I think if you have, like, it could be done. I mean, you add you say mixed relay, say 50 fly, 100 fly, 50 free, 100 free, 4x1, 4x medley, it adds one more opportunity with the 50s, or I guess if you could be 50. I guess the point is, though, people are saying, well, that makes it so much easier. It does broaden the range. It would just broaden the range for a sprinter, right? Michael was I would say a mid-distance swimmer that could come down to 100, but he still won the 400 IM. This to me
that's insane.
Insane.
Like, he's so insane.
This would be someone who has the range of a 200 and down. Like the 200 is the stretch.
Right.
And obviously the mixed relays help, but again, good. Look what Michael Phelps winning 8 gold medals did for our sport. Oh, I hope we have another person doing it.
He carried that sport on his back.
His back broke.
He carried that. That is why swimming is the most watched sport in the Olympics.
Yes. So why wouldn't we want another person at that level again?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Like, well, I guess why are we rooting? Yes, okay, it broadens it. Yes, I understand from a, someone breaking your record perspective, that's never fun, or someone close to your record. But if you're looking at the broader landscape of swimming, which is what this whole podcast has been about, it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the sport of swimming. What Michael did elevated our sport, and what Caleb Dressel did, what Katie Ledecky is doing, but we need more. We need more of that. And so having that attention again in LA, are you kidding me?
I know.
Is going to give us increased USA Swimming memberships and the attention that we need to do what we do, no matter what happens with NCAA. So that's
speaking of USA Swimming, and home soil Olympics, I speak we as in like
we're on
I made the decision. USA Swimming just hired their new national team director, and it's Greg Meehan. And I think this is a huge win for the sport, especially in our country heading into a home Olympics. I don't think there's a better candidate that could lead this team back to kind of like where maybe we were in 2016, one of our most successful Olympics, like that era. And I'm also excited because Greg Meehan is somebody that has an understanding of the NCAA system, as well as the Olympic scene. So we're going to be getting somebody that fully understands this House versus NCAA settlement and how that will change the landscape of the sport, but while also having that crucial Olympic experience. He's been producing some of the best swimmers for 2 decades maybe now. Yeah. Like the man knows what he's doing. And I think it's going to be really good to have somebody that can find the balance between those two separate but not so separate environments.
Yes. I also think the thing that I've noticed as of late, I guess I'm in the sport, but I'm in it in a different way. And I'm in it with the Synergy Dryland that Todd and I have of going to club teams, talking to coaches, hearing the coach chatter. We just need alignment again. Mm-hmm. Because there's, especially now that there has been no one in the role, someone that can have coaches feel listened to, someone that can have athletes feel listened to. And that plays a huge role in culture, in athletes getting what they need, coaches getting what they need, and the trickle-down effect of that as well. And so I don't know Greg super well, but every single thing I've ever heard is he just seems like an incredible leader. Yeah. And that just soothes I don't want to say my soul, but just my anxiety heading into this summer and then summers beyond.
Yeah. And there's not much of a sample pool in terms of how successful your country is as it directly correlates to your national team director. But historically, with the US and Australia and countries like that are swimming powerhouses, when you have a true leader like Greg Meehan, the stronger that national team director is, the more success you see internationally.
Yep.
And of course, I mean, this is a huge loss for Stanford.
I know.
Huge loss for Stanford, huge gain for USA Swimming. So I'm sure Greg was, of course, like torn and,
Especially after what they just did.
I know. Like, I don't necessarily want to assume this was an easy decision for Greg.
No.
But I think if we're talking in terms of USA Swimming, huge win. And obviously whoever kind of fills in his shoes at Stanford is going to do an incredible job, and Stanford will be just fine. But I think, national team director, some people are like, what is that?
Like what did they do?
Right. Like they are not working on deck every day with athletes. They are more so kind of hitting on what you said earlier, instilling a culture amongst the national team. And that can trickle down to, what are the relays at meets, but then also what does our lineup look like in terms of meets? How are we traveling to the international meets? What do our nationals look like? Like coordinating things between coaches. He is kind of steering the ship. And he is the perfect person for this. And I'm so stoked. And he's such a good guy. I know him better than you, but I've been on so many trips with him, and seeing the way that he leads, seeing the way that his own athletes look up to him and just adore him and trust him. I think he will have the same exact effect on the coaches.
Yeah.
That now have to trust him as well.
Yeah.
So I think this is a big step in the right direction.
Yes.
For Team USA, especially heading into home Olympics.
Yes. I know. I feel like the time was ticking, and it was like every day that we didn't have that person in place, it just felt like, I don't know, we were out to sea and we had no compass. And so I feel like Greg is the compass.
Yeah, we've got a compass now.
We've got a compass, so just pointing it.
I know. Like, tell us where to go and we'll follow you, Greg. So just say the word.
Yeah.
But I think this is a huge turning point, and I see nothing but light at the end of the tunnel. But then also that is the flip side of that coin is the future of this sport. So I don't want all of this to sound so doom and gloom.
No.
Like, we kind of have the power as the people that are within the sport to help it grow. It's just how do we get Joe Schmo off the streets into the sport? How do we get them watching?
Yeah.
It's a deep conversation. It's a layered conversation, but I think if you're listening to this, hopefully you can send this to somebody or strike up a conversation with somebody and start brainstorming, because again, like those commercials, it's just 20 cents a day.
Just 20 cents a day to save our sport. And then it's like, do, do, do.
Cue tears.
Where's your violin?
I know, it's actually right over there. You could break it out. But yeah, it's a lot. And I think we pretty much hit on everything that I have notes on. But at the end of the day, like, what is the NCAA going to do to our sport? How do we make viewership more exciting for the in-person experience, but then the viewer at home experience?
Yeah.
It's how do we make it more punchy and exciting? There's a lot, but
it's a lot of questions. There's a lot of unanswered questions that the answer makes a massive impact.
Mm-hmm. But I think we have identified the problems and the issues. It's now just figuring out how to solve them.
Yes. And I think, you can only control so much. And for us sitting in our seats, for the audience, it's just talking about it, raising awareness, like you said, posting about it. There's unfortunately a lot of these decisions are not decisions that we will get to make.
Yeah.
But I do think understanding more of it, for some reason or other, just makes me feel like I do have more control. Like feeling ignorant. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, and this is not one of those times.
Yeah. This is not one of those times. Like, we want you to know, and hopefully we did an okay job kind of explaining everything. And if we didn't and we got something wrong, like Katie said earlier, tell us with kindness. Like, let us know, because that's just going to help everybody.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
We are not here to like spread false information. We're doing our best with what we've researched and what we've understood. And the more that we can kind of get this on people's plates in a palatable way, and a way that's understandable in layman's terms. Because I mean, I'm reading through some of these documents, and it's in lawyer language.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what does that mean? So it's all about putting it in terms that you can understand and you can explain to your friends and explain why it's important to know about it. But yeah, this is not a time to be ignorant, because it is like, we've got to step up.
And it's not just swimming, like, especially with the NCAA piece. Obviously, like it does feel a little, not like misery loves company, but it does feel a little kind of comfort to know that all Olympic sports are going through this. Mm-hmm. And so more people are collectively fighting for the right thing for the athletes, for the coaches, for the viewers, everybody. So
it'll be interesting to see how different sports kind of handle it. Mm-hmm. And like, maybe we can take something out of track and field's book or wrestling's book. And it's one of those things, like, we all kind of have to work together. And I hope it didn't sound like earlier that we were putting this all on the athletes.
No,
like, of course, like, they are why we watch. At the end of the day, we want to watch Katie Ledecky at the Olympics. Yep. This isn't all on her. She's doing her job and more.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So, I hope that's...
No. Okay. I'm just saying that to, like, encourage other people to be like, oh, I'm not an athlete. Why would I make a difference? No, like, you can.
Yes.
So it's going to take everybody that loves this sport to help keep it around. And, we're doing our thing in the best way that we think we can. And hopefully it inspires others to do the same, because I know I wouldn't be who I am today without this sport.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's everything. It's defines you as a human and gives you so many skill sets that you take now into the future. And I can't imagine a kid not getting the opportunity that we both got in this beautiful sport. So we're just two girls on some couches with some mics trying to help a little bit. Yeah. And we hope you guys appreciate and found value in this. And if you have any ideas or thoughts, we'd really appreciate them in the comments, and onward and upward.
Yeah. Let's do it.